Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so let me just do a quick introduction, then I hand over to Ohis. So my name is Feikemi Aduro Bangba. For those who are not familiar with me or the platform, I'm the founder of Speak to Transform. I think there's a lot of background noise from your end, Ohis.
All right, maybe I switch off the fan. Probably
Okay,
the fan.
I think you should.
Yeah, yeah, I
So,
have.
Speak to Transform is a company that works to enlighten, educate, and empower individuals, basically using right information. And we have different platforms. We have Speak to Transform Library, where we share books and recommend books every month to individuals. We have Speak to Transform Daily Nuggets, where I share spiritual matters. We discuss issues from the Bible. We have Speak to Transform Talk Show, and that's why we are here today. And our guest speaker is Ohis. I pray I don't murder your name. Ohis Eboreime. Please correct me if I'm wrong, right? So Ohis is, I've been looking forward to this session because I really want to glean from him and learn from him as to his experiences about how he turned pain to purpose. So before I hand over the questions that we have to him, we want you to quickly give us a very brief about yourself. Then you tell us a fun fact about yourself as well, something fun about you that you want people to know.
All right, thank you very much, Feikemi. Thanks for the opportunity, for the platform as well. I have been looking forward to also talk about this. Even though I've spoken about it a long time. About 6 or 7 years ago in Abuja. Yeah, please, somebody should. Who's that?
Just mute everybody.
Yeah. All right.
Then you unmute yourself, please.
So, truth of the matter is, I have had a lot of doubts before, self-doubts about this, because the last time I did it was in Abuja. There was a lot of backlash afterwards. I wasn't really mentally prepared, but now I think I am ready. We learn, unlearn, and relearn. My name is Ohis Eboreime, actually. I am a project manager, an on-air personality, a sports broadcaster. I really, really love sports. I am passionate about sports. I think I am versatile. I do a lot of things. I can do a lot of things, really. I am also a human resources expert. I also do stuff on monitoring and evaluation, prevention, care, and testing. So many things rolled into one. So yeah, I think I am almost the complete package. And basically, that's about me. Fun fact, well, I don't know if it's fun, but I do not sleep at night. Is that fun? So probably it isn't insomnia, but my circadian rhythm changed when I was doing masters in the UK 10 years ago. And since then, I perform better at night, so I am nocturnal.
So what time do you sleep, or you don't sleep at all? I don't know if you heard me. Hi, Ohis, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, I said, so what time do you sleep, or you don't sleep at all?
Not that I do not sleep like a normal person, right? Between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. I am usually very active.
Wow, I see.
Yes.
Okay, so let's dive in. Let's pick all the myths that we can get. So recently, I think last month, we saw that the news was flooded with ocular albinism. Like a lot of people, I'm very sure people hadn't even heard that before. It's not something we are familiar with. So how is this different from what we commonly know?
Well, the difference is that ocular albinism is the albinism that affects the pigmentation in the eyes only. It is a rare genetic disorder, right? It just affects the eyes, and it leads to vision deficit in the eyes only. Yeah, while the albinism we all know is, of course, lack of pigmentation in the eyes, hair, and the entire body. So ocular is just the eye. So little or no pigmentation in the eyes, and vision, of course, it continues to deplete. So that's the difference between ocular albinism and albinism in general.
Okay, so when you say deplete, deplete to what end? Like,
there's no severity, and it is not a condition that worsens. It just happens that there's no pigmentation in the eyes only, and that's ocular albinism. It is a very, very rare genetic disorder.
wow. I must say it was my first time to see, okay, I think I've seen it before, but first time for me to see someone in Nigeria.
But you overlooked it at that time, probably because it didn't generate the public buzz like this one.
Yes. So can two individuals with full pigmentation give birth to an albino, and can two albinos give birth to a baby that has melanin?
Yes, very possible. All the children I have are not albinos. They have melanin, they are black, people will say they escape ammo, but of course we have heard a lot worse. I do not have children that are albinos yet. I have a lot of friends who are also albinos who don't have children that I know, to the best of my knowledge, that are albinos. And of course, albinism is genetic, right? So if it is in your gene, maybe your great-grandfather or great-grandmother, you will definitely have somebody in the family who will be a person living with albinism.
Wow. So, but is it possible, like, for, okay, two albinos to have like a black child?
Yes, of course, very possible. I have a friend in Warri who married a fellow albino. They just had a child about 5 months ago, and the child is black.
Wow, wow.
No albinism, no ocular albinism.
Interesting, interesting. So let's dive in more. Are there places in Nigeria that have more individuals with albinism, or is it spread to, like, the question is it spread to a particular concentrated in particular places?
I think it cuts across, really. I have seen that some people. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right. I said there are 100 cases annually of albinism in Nigeria, and looking at it critically, there is no extensive research, no reliable research information or result of where albinism is more predominant in Nigeria. So I think it cuts across, and because I am well traveled, I have been to like 32 states in Nigeria, I can say comfortably that it is more in the south than in the north. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy for Risikat. As you said, there was a lot of buzz. Aziz, I guess she's from Kwara State. I'm not too sure about the state, but she was helped by the public, helped by the government. This is a person with albinism that was just affecting her eyes, right? So I can't imagine the kind of backlash that people that have like full-blown albinism go through, especially those in the rural areas. So as a child, did you have issues? I know you've mentioned it earlier, but I want you to share that, like, what kind of issues did you experience? Were you stigmatized in school, in church, or in any social gathering? Can you share a story and lead us?
Fortunately, yeah. Can I speak now?
Yes, please.
Can I speak now?
Yes, please, you can.
All right. Fortunately and unfortunately, I have experienced a lot of stigmatization, situations where I have been rejected, I have been discriminated against, situations where I have been put down, suppressed, verbally and physically. As a child, I was timid. I will say that. The difference between me and other albinos as children might be that I was, and I still am, a bit more privileged considering my family background. Thankfully, I didn't come from a family that was poor or impoverished. We were comfortable, and as time went on, it became a lot better financially, but I grew up in a very, very comfortable home, thankfully. But as a child attending nursery school, Greater Tomorrow Nursery School, I was stigmatized. There were a lot of times where people didn't want to play with me, people didn't want to have any conversation with me, no interaction whatsoever. The only thing that made me feel among, have a sense of belonging, was academics. I was very bright in school. From kindergarten to the end of primary school, I was bright. I was losing my books. My auntie, wonderful auntie, pharmacist, Pastor Mrs. Ainomo John, was always there for me, beating me, of course, knocking me back to shape, disciplining me, helping me to rewrite some of the books I lost, and helping me as well to, guiding me in the right path, and of course, helping me to get a foothold of my life at that time. But I really was psychologically drained, mentally as well, but I put a lot of work into my books, and that's because I had a grandmother, may her soul rest in peace. She just passed on this year, crushing blow, most important person in my life. She was there by 2.5 years. I already knew 2 times to 12 times. We had NITEL that time. I memorized practically all the numbers that we had to call, and numbers that called us regularly as well. So the difference maker was that I used education to fight back, but I was really, really maligned. I was stigmatized, discriminated upon and against, and always people wanted to stay away from me.
Wow.
So as a child, from kindergarten to primary 5, because I left primary school in primary 5 after the common entrance, I was 4th best, of course, in the entire school. 3 girls were ahead of me. At that time, Tarela Gomora, Iyobo Salola Ebweku, and Ifweko Agbontain. I will never forget, I was 4th best in the entire school, but 3 women were ahead, or 3 women now, they were girls at that time. And truth is that it was only education that stood me out, because they will say, get out, Albino, get out, you are different, you are this, you are that, and all that. So I didn't really get a lot of reprieve at home, except with my grandmom and my auntie and my uncle. My mom was out of the country most of the time I was growing. So I grew up with my grandmother and my auntie, and they were wonderful. They were phenomenal. I think without them, I would have really, really broken down. Mentally, of course, most likely. Psychologically, I was down every time. I was always asking pertinent questions. Why am I like this? I had little or no knowledge. Then things got worse when I went to Federal Government College in Bilo. Well, a lot of problems I had at that time weren't really understood by my family. And this is a family that before I came into the world, they were albinos already. My auntie who took care of me, pharmacist Pastor Mrs. Ainomo Ojono, is an albino, and she probably should have had better knowledge of how to take care of the situation. But she probably also didn't know. I won't blame her. She did her best, but psychologically, I wasn't there. Maybe it was that time I needed to be psychoanalyzed. I needed a psychologist, but at that time, they did not understand my travels, my struggles. I was struggling a lot in secondary school, JSS1 to JSS3. My academics hit the rocks, right? I experienced a downward spiral. I was intelligent. I knew a few subjects. It was always there, but output was very low because I couldn't put things together. I was having a lot of people bully me, oppress me, including my mates. Take it or leave it. I am a very strong person physically. I think when I was able to regain my composure, my balance mentally and psychologically, people found it difficult to bully me physically or otherwise. But before it got to that point, I had fears every day that I was kidnapped at 14. My people don't know this information is only known to my grandmom, late grandmom, may her soul rest in peace. I really, really love her. I will continue to love her till I die. And my auntie. I was kidnapped at 14. I was almost used for rituals. I wasn't in the house for 5 days. My mom wasn't, she was in the house, but she didn't know, because at that time we had a frosty relationship. We weren't, well, at that time, we weren't close at all, maybe because she wasn't there when I was being brought up. I think she came back from the UK when I was 7, if I'm not mistaken. At that time, my grandmom and auntie were the only parents I knew. My uncle Ofure, fantastic man, retired permanent secretary in Benin, was always coming, but he wasn't around. At that time, he was at Akin Olubade Hospital. He's the chief surgeon of Edo State. He's a chief consultant surgeon. He was at Akin Olubade at that time in Abeokuta before he went to, I think, another hospital in Ibadan before he came to Benin later on. But at that time, it was just my grandmom and auntie. And my grandmom was a big distributor of drinks, Canada Dry at that time and other types of drinks, varieties. But she had to quit it because she wanted to take care of me. She wanted to give catering for me her full attention. My auntie, at that time, she was in Liver Iron Tonic. She was in several places, had her own pharmacy, but she was always there for me on a daily basis. I went to the best school in Edo State at that time. Greater Tomorrow was the best. So I had a fantastic upbringing. But outside my home, around the vicinity where my home was situated at that time, around the vicinity where my school was located, I had a lot of personal experiences that some of them, if I relive them, if I decide to say them here, it might lead to tears from me, even though I know I may probably be emotionally strong, but in this regard, I will be very weak. So a lot of things happened. People in secondary school, when I left Ibilo, after the problems I had, people bullying, oppressing me, taking my clothes. When I left FGC Ibilo, I went to Word of Faith. I developed thick skin. A lot of things happened in Word of Faith that I regret, but it was me fighting back. It was me telling society that I was human too. I am human, and I have the ability to give them my own fair share, my own dose of trouble. So that time I played truancy. When I left Word of Faith, I had the best result, but I wasn't always in class at that time because there were a lot of issues I had, truancy, I had problems. I left Word of Faith to Greater Tomorrow. My form master in SS2, Mr. Ramon, called me a smelling animal, and albino, I should get out of his class. I fought him. And at that time, my vice principal senior school, Mr. Abbas Aliyu Yama, I'll never forget him, took my side and said the form master had no right to call me a smelling animal in the presence of my fellow classmates and also demean me to that level. And it wasn't appreciated, and that I also had the right to fight back. And we had fisticuffs, of course. We had a physical altercation, and I did my best, even though I was in SS2 at that time. I was already gaining physical strength. So in uni, Bowen, no girl wanted to be with me. Of course, nobody wanted to befriend me. You are very aware of that, Feikemi. Of course, we are the same set in Bowen. A lot of people, my class setmates, people junior to me, nobody wanted to have anything to do with me. My friends probably had things to do with me, probably wanted to align themselves with me because I had a lot of money. Of course, my parents provided more than enough for me at that time. So maybe that was the difference maker. I had something they wanted. There was no genuine love. It was fake love all through. In class, I had to do double the work of people in order to just gain some sort of recognition. But post-Bowen, most of the girls who didn't agree were actually begging. But that's different. In Bowen, I suffered a lot. I remember Ladanu also racially discriminated. Well, this is color discrimination now because he said I am an albino. I fought him. We had to go to the VC's office at that time, Professor Timothy Olagbemiro, and a lot of issues culminated into me being what I am today. I had to develop thick skin in many ways. I had to also have a bad tongue, where if you tell me something, I have to tell you something that would be more painful or hurtful. Then going forward, you desist from calling me names. So many situations, but these are the ones I can remember. Masters in the UK, a bit all right because I was in London and yeah, the blacks didn't really care. Well, I think maybe they were a bit mature. Yeah, I also learned Tai Chi in the UK. I also learned a lot of physical defense activities, things that would definitely also add to my physical strength, because I felt that sooner rather than later I was going to be attacked. I got my visa in Nairobi because my popsy works with development jobs. I can regard him as a diplomat. Yeah, I got my visa in Nairobi. Nairobi, Kenya. Kenya as a country is a hotspot for albinism as well. People attack albinos for spiritual purposes. They say witchcraft and others. Tanzania as well. So, but we'll go into that. So many situations. And I also thank my dad, Dr. Sylvester Oike. He was there for me all the way, giving me a lot of pep talk, motivating me, telling me that I was better than everybody else. I should make sure that I keep my head up at every point in time and face the world square on. So yeah, most of those things helped me.
Sorry, I was muted. I said you've poured so much. You've poured so much. Like the fact that you can remember the names of people that both did good and did bad to you is it's incredible. And the influence they made. It's interesting that as much as, yes, your family tried to shield you, like your grandma tried her best, but the society at large, because of their lack of understanding, or because of the ignorance about the issue, or because generally human beings always look for who to step down on to feel like they are better. I don't know which case may have played out here, but it just shows that there's a lot of work to be done in terms of awareness and sensitization about how people should treat each other, how people should handle each other's feelings about how you look, and how basically it's just a very deep-rooted, painful issue. You've really poured out. You've poured out a lot. You've poured out a lot, and grateful for your grandma. May her soul rest in peace. And thankful for the I think head teacher who corrected that form teacher, because teachers really make this kind of mistakes a lot. Can you imagine that kind of name they called you, like, and you can still remember after so long? So let's.
Yeah, I can remember the day and dates as well.
My goodness. My goodness.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
So, going forward, like you already mentioned some things that we have questions on, but maybe we could go deeper. What things did you do? Like you've mentioned a lot that you fought, but what things did you do? And you've mentioned a lot that you also invested a lot in education to just get yourself out there. But apart from this, did you, by the time you got to like university and maybe when you were doing your master's, or now that you're working, were there systematic ways or systematic things that you did to just become a better person and overcome the issues that you've been experiencing?
Truth of the matter is, in primary school, I was helpless, I was defenseless. Even at home, I couldn't say what I was facing. My grandmom would definitely have probably that experience, and she could decipher what was happening. She probably, I don't know, I really can't express in English language how she was able to know the challenges I had, even though she wasn't spot on, but yeah, she did her best. And the things I did, apart from education, I also tried to be physically ready for the challenge. Wow. I also tried to also be able to sensitize people And like I said before, apart from developing thick skin, I also decided that I was going to have a bad tongue. And if you tell me something, I'll be able to respond to you in like manner. Something much worse. I have had situations in university where we'll be throwing banter, and the only thing you can tell me is that I am an albino, but I can tell you 7 things that you are deficient in, right? And it reached a crescendo when a friend of mine in 200 level, precisely Afolabi Ayenuyo, who was called Gattuso at that time, in 100 level, I beg your pardon, he was expelled after 100 level. In 100 level, we had a problem upstairs in Sadler Hall. At that time, Shegun Ayelabola just beat up a fellow classmate of ours, or a fellow setmate, Tomiwa. And yeah, it was an issue, and we also had banter. That was before before our nights out, where we had to go back to bed at 10 p.m. and all that. So we had the issue, and the only thing he could say on around Laoshe Bikon at that time was, "You are an albino." Then, of course, we took the issue to Sadler, and I was always telling him things that he never thought I knew. Of course, I could definitely make sure that I would banter you word for word, and he turned it into physical combat, and I had to fight as well.
Sorry, Ohis, you have to unmute yourself again because of the background noise. Yes.
Yeah, and they took the porter, which we affectionately, sometimes we didn't say it with, of course, a dint of affection, who we used to call OBJ, to intervene, and of course we went our separate ways. But that sent a message across to those, the onlookers, and the person who I was fighting with, that I wasn't an easy prey. So in different ways, I have tried my best to fight back, and hopefully it is paving the way. Even right now in my workplace, people talk in low tones because you cannot tell me to my face anymore, right? You do not, I do not think anyone can anymore. That's the truth of the matter, because they know that what they are going to get will be double dose of what they gave me.
Okay, so leaving the fights out of it, let's imagine someone who doesn't have the physical stamina to be able to fight back, a younger albino. How will you advise such people to defend themselves?
It really doesn't have anything to do with physical stamina. Physical stamina was a personal decision of mine. Okay. Right? If you are mentally and
okay, I think we've lost Ohis. Let's just give him some minutes or some seconds, hopefully.
Psychologically, and I am giving it my best. At a point, there was one we did in 3 local governments, which I spearheaded, and you contributed. I had aunties who, an auntie of mine contributed 3 days ago. There was a time I put it in my family group, and some family members had the effrontery to cast aspersions that I was probably begging. By God's grace, I am privileged.
Ohis, please, can you start again? We missed you before the 3.
Okay, I am saying there are some awareness and sensitization programs, some moves that I have made in the past. And there was one that happened 2 months ago. You contributed for Ikemi. I have an auntie who contributed 3 days ago. Many people contributed at that time. And to gain the support of family, I also put it in my family group, which I have exited, because a lot of family members decided to cast aspersions that I was probably begging for money. But it was for albinos. The truth is that I work in a place where I don't want to call the name of the organization, of course, for the obvious reasons, but I work in a place where my salary is not regular. I do a lot of things on the side, but I alone cannot continue to finance this initiative or these various initiatives. So I also need help, and in my family, the reason why I thought they were even going to be compassionate and understanding is that there are albinos in my family, and of course, there are family members who also cast aspersions on albinos in my family, or albinos in my family. So the truth of the matter is that nobody is your friend, and I have grown up in such a way, and I am wired in such a way that I do not really trust anybody, because based on everything that I have suffered and faced in my life, I trust only myself and probably my grandmother who recently passed.
Wow, wow, wow.
So what happened with my family group opened my eyes to the fact that people want to see you beg, but unfortunately it was for a cause, and it is for a cause, and it is what we will continue to do. I have been on bigger platforms where I have also sought the assistance on the collaborative efforts of people. I am in the deep negotiations with in deep series of negotiations with a couple of organizations who, by the grace of God, will come through.
Wow, wow! These are some deep. These are really deep things they are sharing here, like how it has affected you, because we can still see these effects with you, like in you, the way you act, the way you speak. And you saying you cannot even trust anybody, even as close as a family member. These are really deep issues that I think should be resolved going forward, and God helping you and God helping us all. So we have somebody in the audience that is raising his hand, Please, sir, if you have a question, you can just write it down in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and throw to him while we go ahead with the other questions.
So good evening, everyone, and I'm so much happy to be on this this platform.
Thank you.
The discussion is such interesting that I know it is social challenge across the world. And to be honest with you, I salute the courage of my brother for taking the bull by the horn to redefine himself. And he has said it all, to say that it is both ways. You understand why the victim himself or herself needs to summon courage and realize that you have your destiny in your hands to defend your identity, which it is not in any way your fault. It is not something you have control over. It is natural. It is a blessing from God. And the other side is that he has done so well to also realize that he has not used societal limitation or challenge to limit himself. So what he has done, he has acquired the best of all education that he could get, because that's actually what helps you and position you ahead for life challenges. The other thing is, which he said he has started doing, is I think the society also need to come together and find a way in our subconscious mind to accept the identity of the people that it is God's blessing, not a curse. And the only way is that we need to find a way how we can institutionalize this. So it is not just about Ohis. It is not just Ohis alone that needs to do this. It is a collective effort. And I want to thank you, Feyikemi, for creating such a platform like this. To be honest with you, it may look like a flame, but guess what? That flame can become a big fire very soon. So thank you, and thanks for the opportunity to be on this platform. And I hope this can be an encouragement to those who are having that kind of experience in life.
Thank you very much. So going forward, because we just have 1 hour and we're already running short of time, beyond the stigmatization, I heard you've already mentioned earlier, I watched a documentary recently, and I heard that albinism, people in the rural areas particularly, live in constant fear. You've mentioned that you were even kidnapped at a point. So they are kidnapped and they are used for rituals. I guess this question, I'm asking so that everybody is aware, but you've already mentioned you've been kidnapped. You've mentioned the fact that people are kidnapped for rituals. But the question is, so this is really true here in Nigeria as well?
Yes, it is in Nigeria, but it doesn't have that required publicity because of the way people look at albinos as lesser mortals, inferior people. And the truth about albinos is that most of them also have a very large or a great degree of inferiority complex, and that is what is forestalling that movement from one place to another. That is what is preventing them from having the mental resolve, the psychological edge, and also doing a lot to impede them and inhibit them. Truth of the matter is that the ritual activities don't go on in Nigeria as much as Tanzania and Malawi and Kenya. And Kenya, they've spent a lot of money, admittedly, in buying sunscreens, in creating awareness, in doing sensitization, education, and enlightenment, telling their citizens who are not albinos that albinos are not to be used for sacrifice, they are not sacrificial lambs. But it goes beyond that. Like I said before, I can defend myself, right? But how many people can defend themselves, physically and otherwise? So that is why we're creating sensitization, awareness. In fact, I also got a friend of mine who is a black belter and who also mastered the Tai Chi technique like me. He did his own in Germany. I did my own in the UK. Of course, my sensei is still very much alive. Thankfully to him, I was able to gain some required or requisite skill. But the difference maker is that 95% of albinos think that they are living with disability or with a disability, because the foundations that are trying to push or drive the movement are also pushing a terrible narrative, misleading albinos that they are disabled. They are not. They are differently abled. Wow. The truth of the matter is that there is no black person that can outdo me in an activity that I vest 100% interest. If I wake up tomorrow and I want to read medicine, I will read medicine. And the truth is that many family members thought I was going to be a medical doctor until my people saw my WAEC and NECO result. That's when they knew that I wasn't even in science class. But because I just wanted something different. In my family, we can boast of 30 plus medical doctors. My mom is a medical doctor. My uncle is a medical doctor. I have uncles and aunties spread everywhere, abroad, Nigeria, who are medical doctors. I have younger ones, cousins, who are in medicine, who are doing medicine. So I wanted to do something different. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that people like J.K. Pele of the Albino Foundation, Onome Akinlolo Majaro, they are driving a narrative that is confusing. You cannot tell albinos that they are disabled and they should feel disabled. They are already psychologically damaged. You do not further damage their mentality. Psychologically, they have to be ready. And their readiness will not be promoted by the fact that you are calling them albinos, or that you are telling them that they cannot do what the blacks do. I took it upon myself to play football, despite the risk of skin cancer. I played football for a long time. And the truth is that I defied whatever they were saying about albinos because I wanted to feel how it was to be under the sun. And that's different for me. And there's a terrible notion, with all due respect, a very foolish notion that albinos see better at night. And that's clearly wrong. That is another narrative that I have to completely dismiss. It is absolutely wrong. It is a fallacy. Albinos don't see more at night. And you also, as well as many of my friends, a couple of friends, have asked me if my children are actually mine when I post my children on WhatsApp because they're black.
No.
No, you have asked me. Yes. And even though it was jocular, I learned in secondary school that people make jokes with something serious because they want to add humor to it in order not to get you annoyed. But the truth is that 5 years ago, I would have answered you differently from the way I answered you last month. Wow. But I answered you because education is key. Enlightenment is key. We learn, unlearn, and relearn on a daily basis. Somebody living with albinism can give birth or procreate or produce children that do not have albinism, children with melanin. And I have 2 boys, and they do not have albinism. A lot of people have questioned the paternity of my children, and they are my children. And I have gone a long way to know that they are my children, because I am not daft. I went to the best schools in the world. No matter how, even the polymaths will agree with me that I am a bit brilliant. So truth of the matter is, it also has to do with the awareness. People are driving a false narrative, and it is something that has to be dismissed. It is something that is dead on arrival. It is something that has to be thrown to the trash can.
Thank you very much. So Ohis, I'll privately come back to you with why I asked that question. It wasn't because of the color. So the next thing is, you said that people who are even spearheading organizations and pushing for building or trying to sensitize or sensitizing wrongly, how best do you think the society
are desensitizing, actually? The only way out, Feikemi, the only way out is the awareness programs that other people who are a bit smarter are doing. You see, with all due respect to J.K. Pele, who is a pioneer in this sort of thing, most of them are driving a narrative of self-pity. An albino must not pity himself or herself. An albino must stand toe-to-toe with people with melanin. You do not drive a narrative of self-pity because you are looking for money from organizations.
Yeah.
That is the narrative that these people are driving. Oh, albinos, don't enter the sun. Oh, albinos, you are this. Albinos, you are that. What are the strong points of albinos? I have never seen an organization in Nigeria that has promoted the strong points of albinos. But the obvious deficiencies in albinism or with albinos is what is being driven and promoted, and that is the wrong way to go. An albino must not pity himself. I am an albino. I have held managerial positions. I have led men, and I am still leading men and women.
Wow.
So I went into broadcasting last year, and in Edo State, the people who are better than me in broadcasting or sports journalism, I do not think they can even boldly come out to say it, and this is being modest. So the truth about albinism and the foundations that are driving the narrative are talking about self-pity, are talking about holding albinos with care. Albinos are not eggs. Are talking about albinos, the things albinos must not do. They are not talking about the things albinos can do, have the willingness and capacity to do.
Wow, wow. These are, I'm having a feeling we are still going to have this talk some other time. I don't think it's something that we can really discuss now as in all entirety. So again, I watched the documentary, as I mentioned earlier, and you've already mentioned it, that Tanzania is one of
I can't hear you anymore, Faye.
Okay, not muted.
Please continue, we can hear you. We are enjoying it.
No, that's the, I have exhausted that point.
Okay, yes, I'm just repeating it for that Tanzania is one of the places with the highest population of albinism, and you've also educated us on Kenya as well as Malawi. And do you subscribe to such measures? Because Tanzania
is the worst place albinos can inhabit in.
Yes, so because I watched a video where they said they actually take the children away from their parents to put them in a secluded area. So separating them from the parents, like, it's, for me, it wasn't something I will subscribe to, because the parents were not even endowed enough to say they are seeing their children every now and then. Some of them see them once a year or thereabouts. So what's your opinion about this kind of measure?
It is enslavement.
Wow.
Right? Yeah, it is imprisonment. And people support it because they are deluded. And the truth of the matter is that some things are malicious, some things are condemnable, but if a large group of people support wrongdoing, it becomes right in the eyes of many. So it is clearly wrong.
Wow.
And the only way to fight back is to have organizations and foundations that want to promote the abilities of albinos rather than the obvious deficiencies and seeking help via self-pity.
Wow. So in Nigeria, you've mentioned some names, but from what you have said, you are not you're not enjoying, and you're not in their school of thought. So what organizations can people with
No, I
albino,
am not.
what organizations can people with albino go to that you think are credible that we have in our society, especially people that may not be as privileged as you are?
Well, you can still go to those organizations because they are like the pioneers. They paved the way. I have started mine, and in the last 2 or 3 months, we have gained a lot of exposure. And because I work in a media organization, I have been able to facilitate publicity, awareness, sensitization. We have gone to interiors, rural areas to enlighten and sensitize people accordingly. And like I said before, you contributed to a cause 2 months ago. A few people did recently. I am doing one again on Monday. Of course, immediately after my show, I go into rural areas with my cameraman, sensitize, also empower them in the best way I can.
So I'm just going to read, I think, a comment or two in the chat room, and we'll be wrapping up. So Leki Uzere, I hope I pronounced the name properly, and if I didn't, kindly forgive me. I am an albino and I am proud. My self-confidence was really poor before, but now you can't—
Yes, barrister Mrs. Leki Uzere.
Okay.
Yeah.
An albino cannot afford self-pity. So true. I can imagine, because growing up myself, I encountered self-insecurities, I had low self-esteem, and this is me trying to fight. So I can't imagine what people would have, like yourself, would have gone through. And we can even see how it has affected you, like up till date. So there's really a lot of work to be done by society and by individuals, even from audiences, like from the audience here. Like, we have to change our perspective, change our thinking towards this kind of issues in our society. So Parents Connect is saying this whole stigmatization is just one of those cases of man's inhumanity to man. Albinism is a skin-related condition. I don't see how that affects the person's personality or output. I don't even subscribe to the notion that they are differently abled, because they aren't handicapped in any way. Nothing is wrong with them. So, okay. So that's from Parents Connect. Then someone is saying, God bless you, my brother, for sharing this. This is, I'm so glad you accepted to come and share your story, and basically sensitize us as individuals to know what we are to do and where to go from here. Because me, myself, I've been upgraded. Definitely I've been upgraded. And it's not just me. Definitely I will step it down to my kids so that they are aware of how to behave to people that are different from them. So those are comments from the audience. I think, okay, Shubi Talabi says, what will you advise children with albinism to do in handling stigmatizing from friends?
I think I have to answer that very quickly. Yes, they have to be strong-willed. They have to know that they are equal to, if not better than, their peers. They have to dismiss and push away the notion of self-pity. There's a word I would have used, but I don't think it is worthy of this platform. So they have to absolutely abhor self-pity. They have to dismiss it, eliminate it from it is all semantics in that regard. They have to eliminate it from their thought processes. Children have to be strong-willed, determined, and they also have to stand out. If you're an albino and you can do things better than others, you will be respected. You will earn your respect.
Yeah.
You will earn your respect. And respect is earned by those who deserve it.
Yeah.
So if you do better than them in academics, in sporting activities, in whatever, you will earn the respect that you deserve.
Yeah, I want to add that I think parents have a lot of work to do with regards to that as well, because it's not going to fall upon the children that they are going to eliminate self-pity. Parents have a lot of work in terms of affirmations, confessions, positive words, and just pushing them to become better. Because if you do not come from a background that believes in you and supports you, like your grandma, may her soul rest in peace, we may be having a different case. Or if you did not decide to develop that strong will. So parents, the society, teachers a lot, like education, like we have to do a lot of sensitization in that area. Do you do that, or you just work with individual households and families, or you go to schools?
No, I do. No. I do sensitization. It is wide range. It is a whole lot of work. And I have reached out to 4 local governments thus far. I am doing another one on Monday. Sometimes when we look for finances, it also prevents us from reaching our desired objective. Like we have work plans, we have activities captured into each work plan. We have local governments that we go and do sensitization and awareness programs, and it is local government per local government. We cite the important areas like hotspots and flashpoints and make sure that these albinos are sensitized and empowered. There's a woman right now who has skin cancer in one of the local governments, and we've gotten her to Abuja. We're trying to pay for her care. There's somebody who needs money to do this. There's somebody who needs help with this. Might not be money, might just be a pep talk, something to lift up, something to lift her up, or something to also galvanize her and propel her to do greater things, and to also look at herself with pride rather than pity.
Wow. What I'm hearing right now is sensitization is the key. That's the next step. Sensitization.
That's the important thing. The most important thing. It is a vital component.
Yes, it is. So you have
and beyond it, yes.
You have said a lot. You have poured out a lot. Thank God both of us did not cry. You did not cry. No shedding of tears. I did not. I didn't shed tears as well because I was envisaging something like that. But I'm so happy. Yeah, we are grateful that yes, you are kidnapped, but you're here to share your story, and you're using your story to make people better. And that's really why I wanted you to come and share your story here, and hopefully it will reach a wider audience by the time we post it on YouTube, God willing. So you've said a lot.
Yeah.
What thing will you want people to leave this program with today?
Yeah, albinos are not different from you. Albinos are probably in your homes. There's a movie with Omotola Jolade Kende and Damilola the Goldfish Ogunsi, who is an albino, who is Detective Stephen Keshi in Sons of the Caliphate, one series program on Ebony life. Yeah. He's a fantastic person, was a banker before, now an actor. In that movie, Omotola was segregating and discriminating against albinos because she had albino siblings who were used as a tool for mockery and ridicule of her while she was growing up. That's Omotola in the movie. I think the name of the movie is Tribunal. I think so. And it was beautiful. Funsho Adeolu, Adelaoye, Nikki's younger sister were also there. Bimbo Manuel was there. The great Nobetiong was also there. So these are sensitization moves, right? Whether via the movies, via symposiums, via conferences, via trainings and all that, sensitize as best as you can. I am doing my best to do it, and I am doing it differently from the people who are driving a narrative of self-pity and pushing a notion of albinos being disabled. I will not subscribe to that. I am enlightened and educated enough to know what albinos really require.
Wow. Thank you so super much, Ohis. I wish I could hug you, but let's hug virtually. So thank you so much. Thanks to everyone. So Lekki mentioned something again. She said parents of children with albinism need to be supportive, I guess, for such kids, because the self-pity sometimes starts from home, which wasn't your case. I'm happy that that wasn't your case. They may need some counseling too. So yes, so someone sent something privately. I guess this is for Speak to Transform. So thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Sheon. Thank you, Barrister Lekki. Thank you, Parents Connect. Thank you, Shubi. Thank you super much. And I'm here to continue supporting your cause, your just cause, and may God establish you and enlighten us all. I hope everybody here has taken something. You have to respect your fellow human, irrespective of color or whatever disability. Not disability, not albinism, any other form of difference that you as a person does not have. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, and God bless you. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh.